If you're jealous, go home.
Done. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect my marriage to completely fall apart on a beach in Indonesia, but that's exactly what happened. Looking back now, the warning signs were everywhere. Red flags waving so hard they could have started their own parade. But I ignored them because admitting your wife treats you like an unpaid assistant is way harder than pretending everything's totally fine while your soul slowly withers away inside. Let me set the scene. We're in Bali, supposedly celebrating our anniversary. My wife Amber had been obsessing over this trip for months, constantly shoving Instagram posts in my face from travel influencers who'd apparently discovered the meaning of life somewhere between overpriced cocktails and staged sunset photos. I should have realized right then that any vacation requiring that much aesthetic planning was destined to end in disaster. The trip started out okay, I guess. Sure, Amber spent about 90% of her waking hours positioning herself for the perfect shot, and yeah, I'd basically become her personal photographer, lighting consultant, and human tripod all rolled into one. But that's marriage, right? Compromise. She gets her Instagram content, I get... Well, I was still trying to figure out what I was getting from this deal, but I'm sure it was something. Then came Tuesday afternoon, the incident that nuked everything. We were set up on these overpriced beach loungers that Amber insisted we rent because regular chairs were apparently too basic. I was actually relaxing for once, had a beer that was still cold, a book I was pretending to read, and the sun was doing that thing where it makes you temporarily forget your life is a mess. That's when Amber sat up and did this hair flip she does whenever she's about to make a decision that's definitely going to affect me somehow. She looked around the beach like she was window shopping for something specific. "Derek," she said in that particular tone that immediately activated my fight-or-flight response. "I need someone to put sunscreen on my back." Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. You're thinking, Derek, you absolute moron. That's literally your job. That's basic husband duties, page 1 of the marriage manual. And you're completely right. Except, here's the thing that made this whole situation insane. I was sitting exactly 2 feet away from her. 2 feet. I could have reached over and handled it without even setting down my beer. Would have taken maybe 30 seconds, tops. But Amber wasn't looking at me, not even a glance. She was staring directly at Blake, our tour guide. Let me paint you a picture of Blake. This guy looked like someone had ordered generically hot surfer dude from a catalog and received the deluxe premium edition. 6'2", abs that looked photoshopped onto a real human body, skin bronzed to a level that suggested he might actually be part golden retriever. He wore board shorts that hung off his hips like they were scared of commitment, and I'm pretty sure his hair had a sponsorship deal with some organic coconut oil company. The dude was basically a walking thirst trap, and he absolutely knew it. "Hey, Blake," Amber called out, waving him over like she was flagging down a taxi. "Could you do me a huge favor?" I'm sitting there watching this unfold in real time. I watched my wife, the woman I'd made vows to in front of 200 guests and an open bar, completely bypass me to ask Captain Protein's Shake to rub lotion all over her. And Blake, bless his clueless, chiseled heart, jogged over with this smile that belonged in a toothpaste commercial. Probably zero awareness that he was about to become a key player in my marital meltdown. "Sure thing," he said, all sunshine and good vibes and complete obliviousness. Amber handed him the sunscreen, the expensive $40 organic kind with supposed anti-aging properties, and laid down on her stomach. Then she reached back and untied her bikini top. Just untied it right there. I sat frozen, beer halfway to my mouth, watching this play out like a car crash in slow motion. Blake squirted lotion into his palms, rubbed them together like he was trying to start a fire with his hands, and began applying it to my wife's back with the kind of focused attention you'd give to restoring a vintage Mustang. I raised an eyebrow. Just one. A single eyebrow of, "Are you actually serious right now?" That's all I did. Amber must have felt it because she turned her head toward me, and I swear she had this smile plastered across her face. Not an apologetic, "Oops, maybe I should have asked my husband first" smile. No, this was a smile that screamed, "I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm thoroughly enjoying your discomfort." Then she said it, loud enough that not only did I hear it clearly, but so did the couple from Minnesota 3 loungers down, the group of Australian backpackers playing volleyball nearby, and probably a few confused dolphins out in the bay. "Relax, Derek. I just asked him to put sunscreen on my back. If you're jealous, go home. The beach got quiet. Not peaceful nature quiet, but that specific awkward quiet that happens when people are desperately pretending they're not eavesdropping while absolutely hanging on every single word. Blake's hands actually paused for half a second. Even he recognized that was brutal. But then Amber laughed, and Blake laughed nervously, and suddenly everyone around us was laughing. Everyone except me. I sat there, beer still suspended in hand, sunglasses hiding what I'm absolutely certain was a face that could have launched 1,000 divorce lawyers. Someone from the Australian group actually said, "Oof," loud enough for me to hear crystal clear. The Minnesota couple exchanged this look that clearly communicated, "Thank God we're not them." Even Blake looked uncomfortable, though he kept rubbing that sunscreen like his entire employment depended on it. Meanwhile, Amber was still smiling, soaking in the attention like it was premium vitamin D. She'd gotten exactly what she wanted, a moment, an audience, a story she could probably twist into something hilarious later. My husband got super jealous over basic sunscreen, would make a perfect caption for whatever sunset photo she posted tonight. I didn't argue with her and didn't make a scene, didn't give her the satisfaction of looking hurt or angry or anything else she could weaponize later. I just nodded slowly, took a long, deliberate sip of my beer, and thought to myself with crystal clear certainty, "Oh, I will go home. Just not going to tell you yet." Here's the thing about falling for someone with massive main character energy. At first, it's absolutely intoxicating. It's like injecting espresso mixed with fireworks and a dash of danger straight into your veins. You feel completely alive. You feel like you've won some cosmic lottery where the prize is never being bored ever again. What they conveniently forget to mention is that eventually you're going to crave decaf and silence like a person dying of thirst craves water. I met Amber at my buddy Kevin's wedding reception. Not during the actual ceremony. She showed up fashionably late to that part, making this grand entrance that had half the guests craning their necks to see who was disrupting the vows. I actually met her at the reception, standing at the bar where she was trying to convince the extremely confused bartender that a vodka soda with a splash of champagne and exactly 3 lime wedges, not 2, not 4, but precisely 3, was a completely normal drink order and definitely not the opening paragraph of a psychological evaluation. The bartender looked like he was seriously reconsidering his career choices. I was waiting there for my whiskey, trying really hard not to laugh at the whole situation, when she suddenly turned to me and said, "Don't judge me. I know what I like, and I refuse to settle for mediocrity in my cocktails or my life." That line should have been cringy as hell. Should have sent me sprinting toward the exit like the building was actively on fire. But the way she delivered it, with this smile that was half serious and half self-aware, it completely got me. She had this energy that made you physically want to lean in closer, like she was about to share a secret that would fundamentally change your entire worldview. We ended up talking for 3 straight hours. Well, she talked for 3 hours while I listened, laughed, and occasionally managed to contribute a sentence or two. She told me about her marketing job, her dreams of starting her own consulting firm, her elaborate theory that people who claim they don't like cilantro are just genetically boring. She was magnetic in this way that made even a funeral feel like it could turn into karaoke night, which, thinking about it now, she probably would have actually tried to organize. That first year, maybe even 2 years, it was genuinely great. Amber's confidence was genuinely attractive. She'd walk into any room and just own it. Not because she was trying to prove something, but because she seemed genuinely comfortable in her own skin. She'd start conversations with total strangers, transform awkward social situations into adventures, make mundane stuff like grocery shopping feel like we were on some kind of secret mission. But somewhere along the way, and I genuinely can't pinpoint the exact moment it happened, her natural confidence mutated into something else entirely. It evolved from authentic self-assurance into something that required constant external validation, something that needed attention and audience like plants need sunlight, except way more annoying and with significantly worse consequences for everyone involved. The changes started small. We'd walk past any storefront and she'd stop, not to look at what was being sold, but to check herself out in the reflection. She'd adjust her hair, change her angle, take a selfie, then another, then 5 more because the lighting is absolutely perfect here, Derek. You wouldn't understand. I'd stand there like hired security, holding her purse and whatever shopping bags we'd accumulated while she performed what I can only describe as a solo photo shoot for an audience of absolutely nobody. Then came the Wi-Fi addiction. Every single restaurant, coffee shop, or hotel we entered, Her first question was never about the menu or amenities. It was always, what's the Wi-Fi password? She needed to post immediately. Breakfast needed posting. That weird cloud that vaguely resembled a dolphin needed posting with 3 hashtags and some caption about finding magic in everyday moments. Meanwhile, I'm sitting directly across from her trying to have an actual human conversation, competing with 847 followers for attention and losing spectacularly. But the worst part was definitely how she acted around other men. Look, I'm not some insecure guy who loses it every time another dude exists in my wife's general vicinity. I have functional eyes. I know Amber's attractive. I know men are going to look. That's completely normal. What's absolutely not normal is when your wife treats every single male interaction like an audition for a starring role in a romantic comedy where you're not even mentioned in the credits. We'd be at a bar and the bartender would ask what she wanted to drink. Simple transaction, right? Wrong. She'd lean forward, make this intense eye contact, laugh at absolutely nothing funny whatsoever, and somehow transform "I'll have a glass of rosé" into a 15-minute deep conversation about his personal journey through the beverage industry. I'm sitting there like decorative furniture, wondering if I should just order for myself or wait until she finishes her performance. At parties, she'd work every room like a politician 3 days before election night. Every group needed her commentary. Every guy needed her attention. And if someone didn't immediately respond to her energy, she'd try harder, laugh louder, touch their arm more frequently, stand closer. It was absolutely exhausting to watch, and even more exhausting to actually be married to. "I'm just being friendly," she'd say every single time I brought it up. "You're being jealous and insecure." There it was. The defense that magically made me the villain for simply noticing that my wife treated every social situation like a performance where she was simultaneously the star and the director. I wasn't jealous. I was tired. There's a massive difference. The problem with Amber's friend group wasn't that they were terrible people. They weren't actively evil or plotting anything sinister. The problem was they were exactly like her, attention-seeking chaos coordinators who genuinely believed influencer was a legitimate personality type. There was Madison, the loud one. And I don't mean loud like speaks her mind in meetings loud. I mean loud like has never experienced an inside thought in her entire life loud. Every story required her to stand up and physically act out all the parts. She had unsolicited opinions about everything. Your outfit choices, your drink selections, your zodiac sign, your childhood trauma, and she shared them all with the enthusiasm of someone who genuinely believed the world was desperately waiting for her hot take on literally anything. Then there was Tyler, the wannabe DJ. Tyler owned 3 different MIDI controllers, had a SoundCloud with maybe 47 followers, mostly bots, and introduced himself at parties by saying, "Yeah, I'm kind of a music producer," with the confidence of someone who'd won multiple Grammys instead of someone who made beats in his mom's basement. He wore festival wristbands from events 3 years ago and constantly tried to get everyone to listen to his new track, which always sounded exactly like his old track, but with slightly different laser noises. Finally, there was Jessica, the walking gossip column. If TMZ was a person, it would be Jessica, except TMZ probably has better fact-checking. This woman knew everything about everyone, and if she didn't actually know something, she'd make an educated guess and present it as confirmed intelligence from reliable sources. She spoke exclusively in dramatic whispers, even when sharing completely mundane information. When Amber told me these 3 were joining us in Bali, I should have immediately faked a work emergency. Should have claimed sudden onset amnesia. Should have done literally anything besides saying, "Sure, sounds fun," like an absolute idiot. The first 2 days weren't completely catastrophic, just a lot. Madison shrieked at every sunset like she'd never witnessed one before. Tyler kept trying to befriend the hotel DJ with lines like, "Yeah, man, I could totally see myself playing a set out here." Jessica found drama in everything. Apparently, the couple in room 304 was definitely having an affair because they'd ordered room service twice in one day, which I guess is suspicious if you're completely insane. Then Blake entered the picture, and suddenly my vacation transformed into front row seats to my own public humiliation, directed by my wife and enthusiastically produced by her enabling chorus of friends. Blake was the tour guide assigned to our group by the resort. First time I saw him, he was on the beach at sunrise doing yoga or tai chi or some kind of slow-motion interpretive dance with the ocean. Shirtless, obviously, because I'm pretty sure being shirtless was written into his employment contract. He had tattoos that probably meant something profound in a language he definitely didn't speak, and moved with this easy confidence that comes from knowing you're exactly what romance novels describe when they use words like chiseled. Over the next several days, I watched my wife transform into a version of herself I barely recognized. Every single time Blake was around, which was constantly because he was literally our assigned tour guide, Amber became someone else. Her volume increased by like 40%. She developed this weird giggle I genuinely never heard in 3 years of marriage. Her entire body language changed like she'd been replaced by an alien who'd studied human flirting from a WikiHow article. At the temple tour, Blake explained some history about an ancient statue. Amber stood right next to him, nodding like she was absorbing revolutionary information, touching his arm every time she asked a question. "Oh my God, that's so fascinating. Tell me more about that architecture thing you just mentioned." During snorkeling, she suddenly needed help putting on her fins. Blake obliged, kneeling in front of her like he was proposing while she giggled and said, "I'm so bad at this stuff," even though I'd literally watched her handle fins perfectly fine by herself on our honeymoon. At every dinner, she somehow always ended up sitting directly next to him, asking about his life, his travels, his philosophies on mindfulness and being present. Meanwhile, I sat at the opposite end with Tyler, who was explaining his vision for a dubstep remix of traditional Balinese music that absolutely nobody had asked about. Madison and Jessica, bless their enabling hearts, acted like this was all completely normal and acceptable. They'd giggle right along, make comments about how attractive Blake was, occasionally glance at me like I was a science experiment they were monitoring for interesting reactions. I sat there during all these interactions like a Wi-Fi router, technically essential for everything to function properly, but completely invisible and taken for granted. After the sunscreen incident, I sat on that beach for another solid hour. Didn't storm off dramatically, didn't make any kind of scene. Just sat there, finished my beer, and watched the waves doing their thing while my brain fully processed what had just happened and what I was going to do about it. Amber and her crew had moved on to playing volleyball with Blake and some other tourists, shrieking and laughing like they were filming a commercial for tequila or catastrophically poor life choices. I watched all of this from my lounger and felt absolutely nothing. Not jealousy, not anger, not even real disappointment. Just this weird, calm clarity, like someone had finally shut off a noise I'd been hearing for so long I'd completely forgotten it wasn't supposed to be there. That's when I stood up, grabbed my towel, and walked back to the hotel. Our room had this ocean view that Amber insisted was essential for the aesthetic. Cost an extra $200 per night for that view. She'd taken exactly 3 photos from the balcony before never looking at it again. I stood in the doorway for a second, taking in the chaos. Her stuff was absolutely everywhere. Makeup scattered across the bathroom counter like Sephora had violently exploded. Clothes draped over every available surface. Charging cables tangled in ways that seemed to defy basic physics. My stuff was neatly organized in one corner because apparently I was the only person in this marriage who understood that hotel rooms aren't personal storage units. Then I grabbed my suitcase and started packing. Not angry packing where you throw stuff around. Calm, methodical, almost meditative packing. I folded each shirt like I was preparing for emotional warfare. Every crease lined up perfectly. Colors organized properly. Pants folded in precise thirds. Socks paired and rolled. My toiletries went into their designated bag. Nothing forgotten, nothing left behind. There's something genuinely powerful about packing quietly. It's a level of cold that yelling can never achieve. Yelling is hot anger. It burns fast and bright, and people can easily dismiss it as you losing control or being overly dramatic. But quiet packing, that's calculated. That's a conscious decision. That's the sound of someone who's thought everything through completely and isn't changing their mind. I zipped up my suitcase and pulled out my phone. American Airlines had a flight leaving Bali at 11 a.m. the next morning. It had layovers in Tokyo and Los Angeles, which meant I'd be traveling for approximately forever. But I genuinely didn't care. I booked it, business class, because screw it. I was already having the worst week, and I might as well have legroom while processing my complete marital breakdown. Confirmation email received, boarding pass downloaded, hotel checkout scheduled for 9 a.m. sharp. Then my phone buzzed with a text from Amber. "Where'd you go? We're getting drinks at the beach bar." I stared at that message for a full minute. She didn't ask if I was okay, didn't apologize for the sunscreen situation, didn't even acknowledge that maybe, possibly, she'd crossed a line. just wanted to know my location so I could presumably rejoin the audience for her ongoing performance. I typed back, heading to bed early, have fun, polite, neutral, revealing absolutely nothing. Her response, okay, LOL, don't be boring. Don't be boring. Right. Because the real problem here was that I wasn't sufficiently entertaining while watching my wife openly flirt with the tour guide. I went down to the front desk. The receptionist, this young guy named Addy, who'd checked us in 4 days earlier, looked at me standing there with my fully packed suitcase at 7 p.m., and I could see him trying to figure out whether he should ask questions or just process whatever I needed. I need to check out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., I said directly. Just me. My wife is staying for the rest of the week. He nodded slowly, typing something into his computer. Of course, Mr. Hartley. I'll prepare your bill. Will you need transportation to the airport? Yes, please. Flight leaves at 11. More typing. All set. Is there anything else I can help you with? I also made one more request. Could you please remove my credit card from the room account and just leave my wife's card on file for the remaining charges? Something flickered in his eyes. Understanding, maybe recognition of a situation he'd definitely witnessed before. Of course, sir, I'll make that change right away. I went back upstairs and sat on the balcony with a beer from the minibar that cost $12 and tasted like victory mixed with regret. The ocean looked exactly the same as it had that morning. Beautiful, peaceful, completely indifferent to human drama. My phone kept buzzing with more texts from Amber, but I didn't respond to any of them. Around 11 p.m., I heard voices in the hallway. Amber and her friends, loud and obviously drunk, laughing about something that was probably only funny to people who'd consumed 6 cocktails. She came into the room, saw my packed suitcase by the door, and said, "Derek, why is your stuff packed?" I was already in bed, eyes closed, pretending to sleep with Oscar-worthy commitment. "Derek," she said louder with an edge of annoyance. "Are you seriously asleep at 11? We just got back." I didn't move, didn't respond, just kept breathing slowly and evenly like I was the most peacefully sleeping person in human history. I heard her huff, mumble something about me being no fun, then stumble into the bathroom. Within 5 minutes of climbing into bed, she was snoring lightly. I lay there for another hour, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling fan going in slow circles. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., I'd walk out of this hotel, get in that car, fly home, and the absolute best part? She had zero idea it was coming. My alarm went off at 7:30 a.m., which in vacation time is basically the middle of the night. Amber was still completely passed out next to me, one arm flung over her face, mouth slightly open, looking like she'd gone 10 rounds with a bottle of coconut rum and lost decisively. I got up quietly, showered, dressed, and did one final sweep of the room to make absolutely certain I hadn't left anything behind. Wallet, passport, phone charger, dignity, all accounted for. Well, most of my dignity. Some of it was probably still buried in the sand next to my patients. Amber didn't move at all. The woman could sleep through an actual natural disaster. I grabbed my suitcase, took one last look at her sleeping there without a single care in the world, and left. Didn't leave a note. Didn't wake her to say goodbye. Just closed the door behind me with a soft click that felt like the period at the end of a very long, very exhausting sentence. The car ride to the airport was genuinely peaceful. Just me, my suitcase, and a driver who thankfully didn't feel any need to fill the silence with small talk. Security was easy. The flight was right on schedule. I boarded, accepted the pre-flight champagne like I was celebrating something, which, in a way, I absolutely was, and settled in for the longest travel day of my entire life. That's when my phone completely exploded with notifications. I'd turned it back on after boarding, and immediately texts and calls started rolling in like a tsunami of regret and confusion. Text after text, call after call, voicemails piling up faster than I could read them, all from Amber. The first few texts were from around 9:30 a.m. Bali time, right about when she probably woke up and realized I wasn't in the room. "Where are you, Derek? Seriously, where did you go? Your stuff is gone. Are you kidding me right now?" Then came the phone calls. 7 missed calls in 15 minutes. I didn't answer any of them, just watched them pop up on my screen like an increasingly frantic game of whack-a-mole. The voicemails started next, and they were genuinely entertaining. The first one was confused. "Derek, what the hell? Where are you? Your suitcase is gone. Did you leave? Call me back right now." Second one was angry. "I cannot believe you would just leave without saying anything. This is so immature. You're seriously acting like a child right now." The third voicemail was an absolute masterpiece. Okay, I get it. You're mad about yesterday, but you're completely overreacting. It was just sunscreen. You told me to go home if I was jealous, and you actually left. Who does that? You embarrassed me in front of everyone. I sat there in my business class seat, champagne in hand, listening to my wife tell me that I'd embarrassed her. The irony was so thick you could slice it with a knife and serve it at a dinner party. Around 11 a.m. Bali time, right about when she probably went down to the lobby looking for me, the text changed tone dramatically. The hotel says your card declined. Derek, they're saying your card isn't on file anymore. My card isn't working either. Can you call them and fix this? Derek, this isn't funny. I had to put my phone down because I was laughing so hard that the flight attendant genuinely asked if I was okay. My card didn't decline. I'd deliberately removed it from the account entirely. And her card wasn't working because Amber had a serious spending problem and maxed out her credit card approximately every other month. I usually just paid it off myself because dealing with the drama was easier than the alternative. But apparently she'd forgotten about that little detail. The next voicemail was pure panic. Derek, please, I'm at the front desk and they're saying I need to pay for the rest of the week up front and my card isn't going through and your card is gone and I don't understand what's happening. Can you please just call me back, please? Then came my personal favorite text message of all time. I had to call my mom for money. Do you know how humiliating that was? Oh, I'm sorry, was that humiliating? Having to ask for help in an uncomfortable situation in front of other people? Gee, that sounds absolutely terrible. I wouldn't know anything about that experience. Certainly didn't go through anything humiliating recently. Definitely not yesterday on a public beach in front of dozens of strangers. More texts flooded in throughout the day. Everyone is asking where you are. Madison wants to know if you're coming back. Blake feels bad. He said he didn't mean to cause problems. Oh, Blake feels bad. How incredibly considerate of him. Maybe he could pay for her hotel room since he was so deeply involved in our vacation experience. Her friends started texting me too. Madison, dude, she's freaking out. She's crying. What happened? Tyler, bro, she's crying at the front desk. Her card declined. This is harsh, man. Jessica, OMG, what is happening? Amber won't tell us anything. Spill. By the time we landed in Tokyo for my layover, I had 47 unread messages and 13 missed calls. I read through them all while waiting for my connecting flight, sipping terrible airport coffee that somehow tasted like victory. Someone, I still don't know who, started sending me screenshots from Amber's friend group chat. The messages were absolute gold. They were turning on each other, debating whether Amber had pushed things too far, whether they should have said something earlier. One exchange particularly stood out. Madison, guys, where is Derek? Amber won't tell us anything. Jessica, I saw him leave this morning with his suitcase. Tyler, wait, what? Madison, he left, like, left? Jessica, girl, yes. I was coming back from my run and saw him getting into a car. Airport car. Tyler, bro, that's crazy. Over sunscreen? Madison, okay, but like, maybe we should have said something yesterday. Jessica, said what? That Amber was being extra? Madison, I mean, yeah, kind of. Tyler, she literally told him to go home if he was jealous. Jessica, and he did. Later in the conversation, Amber joined. I can't believe he actually left. He humiliated me. Everyone saw him leave. Everyone's asking questions. It's embarrassing. Tyler, Tal, he humiliated you. Amber, yes. Jessica, I mean, didn't you tell him to leave though? Amber, that's not the point. It got even better. Amber posted on Instagram a beach selfie from the day before with the caption, "Some people can't handle strong women living my best life and not apologizing for it. If you can't keep up, that's a you problem. #no regrets, #strong women, #living my truth." The comments section absolutely destroyed her. People weren't buying it at all. Girl, this is about your husband leaving Bali, isn't it? Strong women don't humiliate their partners in public. Maybe your husband couldn't keep up with you disrespecting him. POV, your learning consequences exist. Imagine your husband leaves you on vacation and your first thought is to post a thirst trap. Someone had clearly spilled details about what actually happened because the comments got more specific. Did you really tell your husband to go home if he was jealous and then get surprised when he went home? You asked the tour guide to put sunscreen on you in front of your husband. That's not strong woman energy, that's just disrespectful. Amber started responding to comments, which was her first critical mistake. Never respond to comments when you're wrong. It's like digging a hole and then asking for a bigger shovel. 10 minutes later, the post vanished. Deleted. Disappeared into the void. But the internet never forgets. Screenshots were already circulating everywhere. I landed in LA, got an Uber home, tipped the driver extra for not trying to make conversation, and walked into my apartment. The place looked exactly the same as when I'd left 5 days earlier. Clean, quiet, peaceful, completely devoid of Amber's chaos. It was absolutely perfect. 3 days after getting home, I was living my best separated but not officially divorced yet life. I deep cleaned the entire apartment, meal prepped for the week, and started rewatching The Sopranos because apparently my subconscious thought I needed more stories about toxic relationships and people making catastrophically bad decisions. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Normally I don't answer unknown numbers, but something told me this would be entertaining. I answered, "Derek?" It was Amber's voice, small and shaky in a way I'd never heard before. "Yeah," I said, keeping my voice completely neutral. "You really left me there," she said, and I could hear that tremor that usually came before tears. "Yeah," I said again. Why waste words? "I can't believe you just left without saying anything, without even talking to me." "What did you want me to say?" I asked, genuinely curious. "You told me to go home if I was jealous. I went home. Seemed pretty straightforward." "I didn't think you'd actually do it. It was a joke, Derek. You know how I am. I was just being dramatic." Ah, yes, the classic, "it was just a joke" defense, the refuge of people who say cruel things and then act shocked when consequences appear. "Cool," I said. "Well, I took you seriously. My bad." "Your bad? You embarrassed me, Derek. Everyone saw you leave. Everyone was asking questions. Do you know how humiliating that was?" I had to put my fork down to fully appreciate the absolute audacity. "Let me get this straight. You're upset that I embarrassed you." "Yes, by leaving after you publicly told me to leave." "That's not, you're twisting it." "I'm really not. You said, and I quote, 'If you're jealous, go home.' Then you got upset when I went home. I'm trying to understand the logic, but it's not clicking." We went back and forth. She cried, promised she'd change, suggested couples therapy. I'd heard it all before. After her company Christmas party, when she flirted with her boss while I held her purse. After her friend's wedding when she dirty danced with the best man. After every single time she crossed a line. "This time will be different," she insisted. "Yeah, you're right," I said. "This time is different. Because this time I'm done." "So that's it? You're just giving up?" "I'm not giving up. I'm choosing myself for once. You told me what you wanted. You wanted me to go home. I listened. For the first time in our marriage, I actually listened to what you said, instead of trying to decode what you meant. I hung up then. Didn't wait for her response. Just went back to my dinner and felt lighter than I had in years. 3 weeks later, my life looked completely different. I'd filed for divorce. Turned out when you have a clear-cut case of spouse told me to leave, so I left. The paperwork practically writes itself. My lawyer, Rebecca, said it was the most straightforward case she'd handled all year. Work improved too. My boss, Patricia, stopped by my desk one afternoon. "You seem different lately. Lighter, less stressed. Did you finally tell that wife of yours to knock it off?" "We're separated," I said simply. "I left her in Bali and came home." Patricia smiled. "Good for you. I've been married 32 years. I know what healthy looks like, and whatever you had wasn't it." I'd also started seeing someone new. Her name was Claire. Met her when she accidentally destroyed my laptop with iced coffee at a coffee shop. She was so mortified, so genuinely apologetic, that I agreed to let her buy me a replacement coffee as penance. We talked for an hour. She didn't pull out her phone once, didn't check her reflection, didn't perform, just existed like a normal person having a normal conversation. When she laughed, it was because something was actually funny. It was calm, peaceful, and I wanted more of it. Over the next few weeks, we had 3 more coffee dates, all without beverage-related casualties. No drama, no performance, no competing for space in my own story. My mom called when she heard about the divorce. "Good," she said immediately. "I've been watching you shrink yourself for 3 years to make room for that girl's ego." My dad got on the phone. "Your mother's crying, happy tears. Also, I never liked Amber. She ate all the good cookies at Christmas and didn't say thank you." A month in, I was fully settled into my new life. Tyler eventually texted, "She's back home. Says she learned her lesson." I muted the conversation. Blocking felt like I still cared. Muting was just indifference. That night I had dinner with Claire. Thai food and genuine conversation. She raised her water glass. Here's to hot food and low expectations. I clinked mine against hers. I'll drink to that. The next morning, I woke up in my apartment. My space, decorated how I wanted, organized in ways that made sense to me. I made coffee, opened the curtains, something Amber never liked because it wasn't flattering for selfies, and sat on my couch with my book. My phone buzzed. Text from my mom. Coming for dinner Sunday, Dad's making ribs. Also, Debbie Henderson said Amber is back and devastated. I told Debbie that sounds like a personal problem. Was I rude? I laughed. Not rude. Accurate. I'll be there. Can I bring someone? The coffee shop girl. Her name is Claire. Can't wait to meet her. I smiled and put my phone down, took another sip of coffee, looked around my apartment, my space, my life, my peace. Amber had told me to go home if I was jealous. And yeah, I went home. Flew 20 hours back, filed for divorce, met someone genuine, and reclaimed my entire life. Somewhere in that process, this place stopped being where I lived and became home. Not because of furniture or location, but because I could finally breathe. I could exist without performance. I could be myself without apologizing for expecting basic respect. I'd spent 3 years as a supporting character in someone else's show. Finally remembered I was the main character in my own life. Turns out peace isn't boring. It's just what happens when you stop accepting chaos as normal. My coffee was still hot. The sun was shining. I had a date with Claire this weekend, ribs with my parents Sunday, and absolutely zero drama to manage. Amber could keep her apologies and lessons learned. I didn't need closure or revenge or acknowledgement that she was wrong. I just needed what I had right now. My coffee, my quiet, my peace. So yeah, maybe I did go home like she told me to. But for the first time in forever, it actually felt like home, and I wasn't going anywhere.